The kingdom of Bretonnia was a land of impossible contradictions. It was built on the rigid steel of honor, sustained by a blinding faith in a goddess, and ultimately it was destroyed by the cold weight of the truth. This is the chronicle of its final gasping days. We begin on the fog-swept coasts of Bordelot, where Duke Alberic, the exemplar, stood as the unremitting ocean. He was a man of personal courage and astounding self-discipline, a lord who demanded more of himself than he did of the smallest, most elite household of knights in the realm. To train under Alberic was to know misery. Sothopus once said he spent 3 years in that household and hated every single second. Discipline. No opponent in the world could ever scare him again. Alberic fought with the inevitability of nature, valuing duty over the hollow pursuit of personal glory. He was the stability of the old guard, a tempestuous but patient wall against the rising dark. 2. The bastard's despair. But while the borders were held by iron men, the heart of the kingdom was rotting from within. Malobod, the bastard son of King Louan Leoncoeur, sought the Grail with a desperate hunger. But the Lady of the Lake rejected him. In that silence, in the cold shadows of a Grail chapel, Malobod discovered a jagged truth. The test of the Grail is not just a trial of arms, but the endurance of absolute despair. He did not find light. He found the Black Grail in the cursed, weeping lands of Mousillon. Malobod drank deep, not for a blessing, but for the raw power to shatter the world that had spurned him. He embraced vampirism and madness, gathering the Knights of the Black Grail and allying with the Leash, Arkan the Black. The civil war that followed was a tragedy written in blood. At the Battle of Quesnels, Bretonnia bled itself dry. Even with the Wood Elves of Athel-Loren intervening to halt the undead, the victory was hollow. King Lewin won the field, but was gravely wounded and presumed dead. The nation fractured just as the true end times began to scream across the sky. 3. The return and the ruin. When the usurper Malobod claimed the throne at Couronne and challenged any knight to single combat, the world held its breath. The challenger who answered was a ghost of legend, the Green Knight. But he was no mere spirit. He revealed himself as Gilles le Breton, the founder of Bretonnia, returned from the mists of time. Gilles beheaded the usurper, and for a moment, the undead armies crumbled. Gilles took the throne as Royarch, with the resurrected Lewin serving as his high paladin. But the kingdom they inherited was a corpse. It was plague-ridden, the population was decimated, and the Year of Woe had begun. Warpstone meteors showered the land, causing mass mutation among the peasants. The goal was no longer conquest. King Gilles declared a final errantry war for the sheer survival of the world. 4. The Scourge of the Necromancer. The end was accelerated by the hunger of Nagash. The great Necromancer required 3 artifacts hidden within Bretonnia to be reborn. Using the blood of a holy knight, the undead breached the magical wall of faith. Bretonnia ceased to be a kingdom and became a resource to be stripped. At La Maisontal Abbey, Duke Gerard of Quesnels and Duke Theodoric of Brionne stood as the final defenders. But they were betrayed by Heinrich Kemmler, the Licher Master, who triggered a magical cataclysm. Theodoric was decapitated, the artifacts were stolen, and Gerard was forced to realize a bitter truth. Traditional valor was helpless against the apocalyptic magic of these final days. The spiritual heart of the nation was finally ripped out when Morgiana Le Fay was kidnapped and butchered at the 9 Demons Circle. Her divine blood was mixed with that of an elven princess and the Grand Theogonist to fuel the rebirth of Nagash. Bretonnia's holiest figure was reduced to mere fuel for a monster. 5. The Exodus and the Great Lie. In the aftermath, the survivors split. King Gilles remained to hold the soil of Bretonnia, while Duke Gerard led the Companions of Quesnels toward the Empire. They put aside centuries of rivalry to aid Karl Franz in humanity's last stand at Averheim. They lived by a new creed. Bretonnia is not dead, while its knights still draw breath. But then, the final veil was lifted. The Lady of the Lake was unveiled as a great betrayal. She was never a goddess of men. She was Liliath, the elven goddess of prophecy. Chivalry and the Grail were merely tools to breed super soldiers to protect the elves. Liliath had created a new world to escape the chaos, but it was for her own kind. Bretonnia was merely a shield to be discarded. 6. The choice of the survivor. Jared faced a choice: kill the goddess for her lies, or save her from the Dark Master, Be'lakor. He chose to save the liar, not out of love, but to stop a greater monster. He rejected the nihilism, on favor of his own internal code of honor. "While I can stand, monster," he declared, "I will fight." Lilith offered him sanctuary in her new world, but Jared refused. He returned to his knights and told them the truth. They did not crumble. Instead, they chose to ride back to Bretonnia to die on their own soil alongside King Jill. They retreated to the ruins of La Maisontal Abbey for one final glorious battle. Bretonnia was built on a lie, but the honor of its knights made the virtues real. In the face of the end times, they did not flee to a new world. They died standing in this one.